So it took me a couple of days to do this video that I've been promising to do. Like, you know, the title when they came and took my baby. So suspenseful. But I delayed these couple of days. It wasn't on purpose. It's because one, there was a lot going on, like, you know, and then two, I was just like, after doing those 3 videos, because I think I did 3 videos so far, just telling my story about all of this stuff that's been going on in my life that I've been silent about in this last 3 years. But it's just been a source of cancer growing and torturing me. And I felt like, and then something happened that made me feel like, okay, I really should say something, because if I don't, this is just going to keep happening. And then people start to frame the story in their own narrative if you don't come out and say something. So, but when I put those 3 videos out, when I did those 3 videos, and the response that I got, and I just felt some satisfaction in my spirit being able to just say my story, and people, you know, connecting to it the way that they were, people hitting me up in my inbox and really just being inspired. So, but when it came to make this 3rd video, I felt fulfilled. I felt like the point that I'm trying to make, which is trying to put my story out there, so there's a version of this story out there, because I know this person that I'm dealing with is on a personal mission to destroy my life, because she said this, and I have it in a freaking text message, you know, or a Facebook message. But anyway, so me putting myself out there, I felt like, okay, now people know, you know, I'm getting love, and you know, I feel really good. And I didn't feel like I needed to do this 3rd video, right? And then, but I was like, I already promised it, so let me try to do it. So I recorded a version of the video like a couple of days ago, and I wasn't really in it. I was telling the story. There was gaps in it. I was just like not all the way focused there. So I was like, well, I can't post this because I want to be as clear as I've been, you know, in these last few videos. And then, I get a message from someone that she had reached out to just recently, a couple of days ago, about me again. And then I just got a message from someone else, another person that she reached out to about me, and just like, you know, just, you know, really because she sees that I'm telling the story and people are catching on to what's going on. So she was like, you know, blah blah blah, she's trying to get attention and yada yada yada. It's like, yo, if it was attention I was looking for these last 3 years, I would have gotten all the attention, you know, that I wanted from all the crap that's been going on. You know, if I get attention, is, you know, I'm a freaking superstar. I do what I want. I entertain people, you know, I hold space in a way to where my talents shine for me. I don't have to create drama to get recognition, you know. So drama I stay away from. That's why I haven't said anything all of this time. But because, you know, this woman is being exposed, she wants to flip the story and frame it as if I'm the dramatic one, and, you know, blah blah blah. But no, boo, we're gonna tell the story, and we're gonna tell it for real, and people will know the truth. So back to this. But I got fueled when I realized, like, this isn't going away, you know. So I got fueled to tell the next part of this story, because I'm like, yeah, this is not the end. This is still going, and I still have a lot more to say. I thought I felt fulfilled in what I was saying, but when I realized, like, you know, she's triggered by the things that I'm saying, because she's reaching out now, she's doing a lot, you know. And I knew this would happen. I knew a lot was going to get thrown at it, you know. But that like, you know, it pushed me a little bit more to be like, no, continue to tell the story. You know, I'm not backing down from this. And now I got more motivated to really tell it in the truth and the clarity that I've been able to tell the rest of the stories in. So the last time I left off on this story was, you know, when they showed up, she knew I was going to be performing somewhere, and he didn't, but she did. And, you know, it's kind of like set him up for me and him to meet face to face, and then a big blow up happened. And I finally just, like, you know, cut that. Like, I'm not dealing with all of this craziness, you know. So 2019, towards the end of 2019, like, you know, my world was crushing down at this point. This is like 2 years in or something like that into this, you know, separation, and things still haven't let up, and things were just still, you know, I'm like legit a single mom in Hawaii who barely is trying, you know, because I'm like, we shared bills and things like that, and I worked a lot from home because I was able to be with my children. So now it's like I have to figure out who's gonna take care of my children, why I work, and hold on. Anybody know anything about Hawaii? Is not cheap here, you know. So things got hard. Things got really, really hard. And in the midst of me just trying to find my balance in all of that, it's like every angle, negative thing that can hit me from people and situations, it was just hitting me all at once. And it was this day where, you know, I was going through a lot, like with my living situation. Me and my landlord was now at this point, I lived in a situation for 8 years and was already really bad blood there, some racism stuff going on. They were just finding ways to get me out of there, and you know, and like that day, my landlord, you know, served me an eviction notice. Like he drove to my house and served me an eviction notice on some bullshit that he ended up taking back, you know. But I just decided to leave because I didn't want to have to deal with the BS anymore. But anyway, so that was happening. This is like around Christmas. There was some other stuff going on with some other woman that got really crazy. And then I get a text after a while of not hearing from these people. I get a text that says, you know, something to the point of, you know, I'm gonna take you to court if you don't blah blah blah, you know, give me my daughter. Pretty much, you know, I get a text from Ronnie throwing court words at me, you know, to take me to court. Mind you, for the years that have passed, I've been the only present parent for these children, financially, physically, everything. Because now, remember, he's in a psychosis. So when he's in and out, he's able to be in and out, but he hasn't been anything to depend on. So to have this man in all his entitlement and privilege come to me and say, you're going to take me to court for these children that you haven't done anything for these last few years, and I've been going, and you've been just giving me hell while I'm trying to keep it together for all of us, and now you say you're going to take me to court. Now, while he had no standing in that, here's what broke me in that situation, you know. And this is where full disclosure come out, and I put my stuff out here because, you know what I'm saying, none of this stuff is holding me anymore. So I'm an immigrant in this country, and when me and this man got married, there was a lot of process that my immigration paper was going through to change my status because we got married. And the papers were in process when, you know, all of this blow up and all these things happened. So there was a halt to it. Now, when the Trump administration came in, there was all of these immigration laws and things being passed that really put me in a vulnerable situation. And that put fear in me. The idea of that I could be deported out of this country out of my own will, that wasn't on my will, you know, and my children, was going to happen to them, that scared me. So anything that had to do with the legal system or courts or anything that would dig behind me, you know, I felt like intimidated to do anything with. One, I didn't really know fully what my rights were, you know, and when you don't know, that's where that all the fear comes in with that. So I was just like, as long as I just avoid all of these things until I do the stuff that I need to do to get myself straight, then I won't have to worry, you know. But now this is coming at me. People were saying they want to take me to court. This man is talking about court, and it hurt even more because I knew this was done on purpose. This attack from this perspective, I knew was coming, right? Because when him and this girl got together, the one thing that I asked, one of the things that I asked him, right? Because two things I asked him, let's go to therapy to talk about this. And the other thing was, can you please not share with this woman my immigration status? I knew this because I knew this woman is wicked enough to use this against me if she needed to. And I begged him, I didn't beg him, but I told him this. And I said, listen, if you tell this woman, if she knows about this, I know that she will use this against me. So the minute I saw that message coming about going to court, I knew that she was behind it. And I know it was like, this is the part where they're coming to get me now, to do all this immigration stuff, to take my baby away from me. So that day was hard day. That day was a hard day. And a few months prior to that moment, I had this intense spiritual experience where I feel like I came, you know, I was put in a position where I came close, like face to face with death, and, you know, and I had to surrender to death in some way, if that makes sense, you know. And as painful and hard as that was, that whole process of surrendering, you know, on the other side of surrendering was complete bliss and peace and joy and all of these things. And it was something that I have experienced on a spiritual level. So in this moment, and it's just like, when I got to surrendering in that experience, it was when I couldn't fight anymore. When I couldn't fight anymore, it was just like, now you have to surrender. I learned the same lesson when I was giving birth to my first child. You know, I'm home birth, and, you know, I'm 29 hours of labor. And it's just like, when I got to the point where I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to die. And I just surrender. That's when everything, you know, relaxed in my body, and the baby came out 30 minutes later. So I've been having these instances in my life of real profound, you know, experiences where surrendering it's the only thing you have to do in this moment. So in this moment, when I was feeling stuck, not knowing my options, not knowing where I stood with immigration, not knowing if that could affect me, I'm intimidated. There's all this racial tension in the air. I'm intimidated to go to court with this, with this white man and this, this vindictive Jamaican woman who has a personal vendetta against me. So all of that, my landlord is giving me an eviction notice. I'm dealing with some crazy stalker jealousy stuff going on with some other person. Everything hits me at once and I freaking broke. I broke. And I said, I have no more fight left in me, especially when it comes to, I can't fight no custody battle fight because I don't even know where I stand with immigration. None of this. So I just felt like I had no more fight left in me. And I surrendered. I sent him a text message back and I said, come and get her. Come and get her. I knew in that moment, surrendering was the only thing I could do. But I also knew that there's bliss on the side of surrendering. And I know my life can't be blissful if my child isn't in it, right? So all I knew, or processing this in real time, I'm like, this is a process that has to happen to get me to this next stage of this where I don't ever have to deal with any of this, because this is at the head of it, Here we are now. So I send that text message in the spirit of all of this, but you can know these things on a spiritual level. You can articulate it on a spiritual level. When it hits you and you feel it in reality, it's a whole nother kind of thing, So spiritually, mentally, I've, made, but when it actually started to happen, I was like, whoa. So he comes to pick her up that day. Now, here are a few things that was happening in this scenario that just made it the most agonizing thing for me. So Vama, my older daughter, that's not his biological child, right? He came into her life when she was 2 years old. At this point, she was like 9. He's the only dad she knows. Her biological father is absent, never really been around. So this is the only dad that she knows. In that moment, he was about to make it clear that if he's going to fight for a child, he's going to fight for his child, because this is the child he has legal rights to. And this is the first time my children would have felt separation from each other. Yeah. So that hit me, and I'm realizing that. And I even said something in the text message as he was coming to pick up, Vama, just to alluding to that, like, you're going to split them up, So he comes, and she's in the car, this woman, she's in the car, and he comes and walk up to my driveway, and he comes, and I'm in the house, and he stands outside. He says, can you send her out? And I was like, no, you're gonna have to look me in my eye to take my daughter out of this house. I'm not sending her out. Come, look me in the eye. And he stood outside for a little while longer, and then he finally came and stood to the bottom of the stairs. And then when I went to my son, because they haven't seen him in a while, so she got excited when she saw him and went to go hug him. And because I had told her he's coming to pick her up, but I didn't explain. She didn't really know what was going on. She was confused as shit. Because as he's taking her and walking away, and Vama is standing there looking on, and she's not going, and I'm sitting on the floor, like on my porch, complete in meltdown. Complete in meltdown mode. Like I'm crying, like rolling on the floor, crying, like somebody had just pulled my heart out of my body. That's what it felt like when he was walking away with my child. And I'm like wailing, crying. I've never cried like that before. And the whole neighborhood could hear me cry, And I knew whatever come of this, my peace is on the other side of this. This is the height of my suffering in this situation. Because the amount of pain and suffering and hurt and my heart just breaking apart that I felt in that moment, I knew this is the height of suffering I could feel in this thing. It has to turn around for the better. I just didn't know how. So that happened. He walked away with a smirk on his face as he took my child, and she's in the car. And I later found out, from my baby, that she videotaped me when I was crying and laughing about it. They later messaged me that day to tell me how they're concerned about my mental health because of the way that I was crying. So that's something that they're going to use in this custody battle now that they're trying to form against me. Was, you know, they're concerned about my mental health because of the emotion that I showed. So all of this stuff is happening, is coming, you know, and I was just like, wow, this is where I am. So I hugged my baby to sleep that night. Me and Vama, you know, we just cuddled that night. And then the next day I was just confused as shit. Like, what do I do next? Like, she's not gonna keep my baby. So how do we, you know, how do I get her back? And how do we really put an end to all this crazy shit? Because I can no longer deal with this. So that day, you know, I didn't take Vama to school. I just hung around with her. I did some, you know, one-on-one mom-daughter thing with her. We went and got our nails done and that kind of stuff, just to get her mind off it, because she was so sad, you know. So when, you know, we were at a place where she was feeling really good. I think we had got ice cream or something, and she's feeling really good. And I was like, it's really good. We got to spend this one-on-one time together, right? And then she just looked me in my face and she said, I want my sister back. So I said, all right, Vama, we got to make a plan. I'm going to think of a plan and we're going to go get her. So that night, I put Vama to sleep. And I'm like, I need to do something. What is it going to be? Because whatever it is, it's the thing, you know. And then I said, I need to pray. So I got on my knees and I prayed. I talked to God, you know. I grew up Christian. My father's a preacher, and I grew up in, you know, Christian churches my entire life. My faith is, you know, based in the Christian faith. At least that's my foundation. And in my quest for spirituality, you know, I found my way. I found myself in Christianity in a different way than Christianity has been presented to me. The power in prayer and my faith has never been weakened. Was never weakened, because I've only walked by faith. The things that I'm able to do in this life, one can only do if you walk by faith. So anybody who try to question my faith, I just be looking at them like, you must not even know who you're talking to. So my faith is very strong. So I never had no doubt that God is with me and God is walking with me. But in that moment, I said, I need to make a real one-on-one connection. And then through all my journey in spirituality, I've been, you know, being told about ancestral worship. Now that's African religion, you know, and I come from Africa. But because I was raised Christian, you know, African ancestral worship hasn't been like a part of my upbringing. So whenever that stuff will come up, even though I'm African and people expect me to know about it, I don't really know much about it. And I'm actually was really intimidated by it, because I know how powerful that stuff is, you know. And it's like, if you're not sure of the energies that you're calling, because I know there's some reality to that, you know. So let's see. My computer is my light. So I always, you know, but in that moment, I knew I needed to call on some ancestors. In that moment, I knew it never felt right before to call on anything, to reach outside of myself. But in that moment, I said, I need some help, you know, and I know God is with me. But I was like, I feel like I need angels with me, you know. And my grand auntie, you know, that was Sarah. I always felt her energy with me. She raised me when I was a little girl. You know, she died during the war. And I just always feel, all these years away from Africa, away from Liberia, I still feel this strong connection to this woman, even after she has passed on. You know, so I knew if I was calling on anybody, that's an energy that I know that is for me, that's always been for me. So I felt comfortable in that. And then earlier that year, my brother-in-law had passed. And I didn't really have a personal relationship with my brother-in-law because I lived so far. But through his death, I learned so much about myself, about him, about my family, about my connection to my family. And it was just the most beautiful process through all of that pain of mourning my brother-in-law. Like it was such a beautiful experience and process, and everything inside of me wanted to know him in a different way than how I knew him on this earthly plane. And his spirit, I feel like, was walking this earth so strong still, right? And they call him the lion. You know, he has lion energy. He break through things. And I'm like, I need a breakthrough. I need breakthrough energy. I need nurturing energy. So I called on my grand auntie, and then I need breakthrough energy. So I call on my brother-in-law, Adolf Lawrence. So in that moment, I don't know what I'm doing, y'all, but I'm like, I'm going to call these names out loud and I'm going to see what happens. with the intention of needing protection and all of these things. And then it was quiet. It was just me. And then I said, "That was it on Danine." And I said, "Adolph Lawrence, I call your name." And I got chills. I got chills in my body now. I got chills all over me. And in that moment, I knew I was connecting on a level that I can connect, you know, on a level that wasn't attached to anything written, on a level that was not attached to what I was told to do, what to look out for, what to expect. It's just you connect, you stay present, and you feel, right? And once I connected, all the fear of what that could look like and what it could be, all of that went away. And all I felt in my heart was peace and joy and comfort. And I just talked. And I said, I need a plan. I want to wake up with a plan. I want it to be clear. And I need you guys to walk with me. You know, I mean, I'm not going to say everything I said, but I said, and pretty much what we're going to do, because something got to happen. And I don't know what to do right now. So I'm putting my hands up and I want to be guided. And I went to bed feeling really good that night. And then I woke up. So this is like day 3 now. So this is the second night. This is the day 3. So my kid has stayed out of school. This is the second day she's staying out of school. So that, you know, the school was calling when you're keeping your kids out of school more than one day. So the school called and they're concerned about why she wasn't in school. And it's just as clear as day. Everything just came, like what I needed to do. It's like, what do you need to do? Like, it just came. So I was like, all right, I need to make an appointment with the school. I'm going to go tell them why she's not coming to school and why. I don't even know whether I was going to school or not if he took her. But I need to be able to explain something to these people. I've been the parent, the only parent that they know that comes to this thing. Now my children aren't coming. All of that falls on me, you know. So earlier the school year, in that school year, I had hired this guy, this Iranian guy who's he's a counselor in the school. And I really made a connection with him because we share refugee stories, him and I. He was a refugee from Iran here, and you know, I'm a refugee from Liberia here, and we share that story. So we're really bonded on another level. So I said, well, if anybody I can talk to would be, you know, this guy. So I called him and I said, can I make an appointment to have a meeting with you? And he said, yes. And I kind of gave him a little bit of what the meeting would be about. And he said, well, can I have the principal sit in the meeting? So I said, that's fine. The principal was super cool too, you know. So I went to the school and I just told those people everything. I poured my heart out. I cried. And I was like, I'm just, you know, reaching out. I'm talking to you guys from human to human so you can hear me. I know there's all these rules and stuff that you got to follow from the school, but if you feel any neglect, feels like it's neglect when my children are coming to school, anything like that, this is what's going on. And I don't know how long it's going to go on, and yada, yada, yada. And what I pushed in that meeting with them, what I talked to them was about the fact that the fear that I couldn't challenge any of this because of this fear that I don't know where I stand with immigration and I don't know how that could be used against me. The fact that I'm even thinking about people using this against me was like, this is the most racist, it was just like this attack coming from, and this is in the middle of all of us fighting this social justice fight, in the middle of people, you know, talking about how horrible these immigration laws are. All of these things, these same people who are attacking me in this way are out there talking about how much they stand for this and stand for that. And they're using the same supremacy, you know, methods against me to bring me down. So this is what I'm dealing with now at this point. So I'm explaining these things to these people so they understand where I am in the fight that I have ahead of me. And then after I'm done, they listen like real human beings, really share my heart with me. And then the principal, he was like, so it seems like immigration is your problem. And I said, maybe. He writes down a number and he says, call this number and someone can help you. And I called that number and it was, you know, the top professor at the college out here, top immigration professor at the college out here. And I talked to him on the phone and he asked me to come in and I went and sat with him for 2 hours. We talked. You know, who sits with a lawyer for 2 hours? You know, their time is their money, you know. So we just sat there for 2 hours and this guy agreed to take on my situation. You know, it wasn't a lot that I had to do once I realized what I did have to do. And pro bono just worked on my case and, you know, got me in a position where I'm feeling pretty, you know, secure in my status and all of that. So and then the threats, because when once, oh, here was the plan. I forget, I'm about to tell you the whole plan. So I went through this whole immigration. So that was my block. My block that kept me from really fighting, my block that kept me from really like what the hell are y'all doing, was that, But once I figured out that there was a way to work through that block, and I could work through that block, and it wasn't as much of a block as I thought it was, I'm like, all right, now the plan needs to be made. The plan needs to be carried out so I can get my child back, because what the hell? So the next day, so day 3, he had her for 3 days. So the next day, so Vama was like, do we have a plan? I was like, we have a plan. So day 3, I sent Vama to school, and I told her, I'm going to call the school to see if Wedemar was in school. So I called that morning, and he did drop her to school that day. He hadn't taken her the first 2 days, but he did drop her that day. And then I called the school, and I told them, I said, hey, I got to pick her up early for an appointment. And they were like, okay. So I went. I picked her up like around 12 or something. School ended at 2. And I didn't want to go pick her up after school ended, because I knew he would go back and pick her up. And I know if me and him met face to face, it would be this whole battle of who's taking this child home. And I was not trying to do all of that at the school. So I went and picked her up at 12 o'clock. And he went to go pick her up at 2 o'clock, and she wasn't there. And that was that. That was the end of it. They huffed and they puffed. And she sent me this message that I'm going to post on my Facebook, just to bring the link back to this video. She sent me this message, and it just put everything back into perspective, or it just validated everything that I felt, that this woman had a personal thing against me, and she was willing to use immigration, as racist and fucked up as that is. She was willing to use that against me to get my children taken away from me. This is the most craziest thing I've ever been a part of, and it's still going, because now she knows she's being exposed. So now she's still attacking. She's still hitting up my friends. She's still doing all of this. But no more. I can't be quiet about this no more, So somehow some of the reasons why my confidence is here and I can tell these stories again, like I said, I couldn't tell these stories. I couldn't retaliate. I didn't really want to retaliate. I just want to be at peace. Y'all just leave me alone. But I really couldn't be vocal about these things, because I didn't know what he knew about me, because this is somebody that I've been with for a really long time, could be used against me once she knew these things about me. This was my husband, who you share the most intimate details with yourself, with your husband, and now my husband is in a psychosis and is partnering up with a woman who has a personal hate for me and wants to bring me down. It was not the most comfortable situation to be in, but he found his way out of that. And I'll probably do one more video. And this video is really just touching on the level of empathy it takes after all of this, to be in a place where this man and I can have a conversation about all of these things. And I said this, and I said the only time I would ever sit across from this man or ever give him the time of my day is he has to come with complete humility. His face has to be humbled down to the dirt before I would even look up at him and say one word out of my mouth to him. And I was able to say a lot of words out of my mouth to him, so he had to come as humble as the dirt in order for any of that to ever happen. So yeah, stick around for the next video. The humility it takes to move on.